screen a little bigger so I can see all of you. Okay, so again, last week, I just want to touch on this for 1 second, which was Think and Grow Rich, 500 of the most successful people. Napoleon Hill interviewed them. They came from all the interviews that he did. He took the key principles that he heard consistently from all of the people that he interviewed. And number one was desire. And we discussed last week, desire is, well, it's so much, and we're going to continue that discussion today, but it's really wanting that thing in our life. You know, it's a desire. We want it more than anything. And we saw Edwin Barnes and how he would do essentially anything, and we'll see how it continues here, to get in front of Thomas Edison. He was already living it in his mind before he got there, just like Art was, right? He's living the acceptance speech way before it's happened, right? And it's a beautiful thing. Okay. So we're down to this paragraph right here where it says, Barnes' desire was not hope. It was not a wish. It was a keen, pulsating desire which transcended everything else. It was definite. So let's hear from you. What does that mean to you? It was a pulsating desire. Yeah, go ahead, Art.
Well, for me, it's like, you know, what gets you up in the morning? It's like, that's the thing. It's like, what wakes you up? It's like, I get up I literally excited about doing this stuff. I get up at like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, sometimes going to bed at 11 o'clock at night, and not for anything, but it's like, I get up and I want to do this. I just want to do it. I mean, I'm working on Ball Guy, which is connected to all of this, and Chef Tell All, which is connected to all of this. But the idea of this being able to be a creator and being able to do this, it's like, this is what I was born to do, and I'm doing it. And right now the money's not coming in, but I know it will be. And I'm just really I'm focusing on being a creator and creating this stuff. And it's like, that's just it. It's desire is all of it. I mean, you think about it, manifestation is desire. The whole, like, when you see grass growing out between, like, through concrete, that's desire. This thing wants to see the sun. That's desire, man. That's the universe. That's the way the universe was built. It's all about desire.
Yeah, Art, in your mind, is there even a chance, a slight chance that this wouldn't work out, what you want?
It'll work out, but probably not in the way that I see it. So yeah, I mean, it's going to work out. There's no doubt it's going to work out. I don't know how it definitely won't be the way I see it in my mind, but I see it happening.
Yeah. So let's talk about that for a second. This is important for everyone, right? Think about that thing that you want in your life, whatever it is, like that big goal that you have, that big thing, the thing that you want more than anything. And let's be honest with ourselves. Do we want it at that level? Are we willing to do anything that it takes to get that? What do you guys think? Let's, again, be real honest. Where are you at on that scale right now with your one? Anyone? Frank, go for it.
I would say I'm probably at about a 6 or a 7. I mean, I'm probably not at a 9 or a 10 like I need to be, because I'll be honest, like, there's certain days, like, I'm just like, all right, I'll hit the snooze button when I said I was never going to do it. You know what I mean? So, like, those old paradigms come back in, or you, like, instead of being uncomfortable, like, in order to grow, you have to be uncomfortable. And that's not always something that you're receptive to on a daily basis. So, and you almost have to force yourself to be uncomfortable. And the more you become uncomfortable, the more you can see results. So, if you step outside of your old patterns, it's difficult. You might do it for 1 week in order to do it for a month and a year. That's a whole different story. So I think it's, building tiny habits to just basically make yourself change over time is important.
That's fantastic. So let's talk about this. So building that tiny habit. So there you are. It's the morning. The snooze button looks amazing. right? 'Cause it's
Yeah.
like, hey, I can just lay my head down and sleep a little bit longer. I'm tired. I was up later last night. What can you do? How can you use the desire to and the habit to get you up out of that bed?
You just have to like your self-talk has to be like I listen to David Goggins a lot, and he basically just he like self-deprecates himself. He's like, this is nothing. Get up, get your ass out of bed. Like that's the kind of way you got to talk to yourself, just to get out and go. I mean, like stop, like it almost like saying shut up to the paradigm. You know what I mean? Like you gotta just kick yourself in your own butt and go.
It's a great point, right? Because it's like you against the paradigm and which one is going to win, right?
Right.
And he's never going to let that paradigm win, right? He'll yell at himself, he'll do whatever he needs to get himself out. So just again, for you, the next time that happens, what will you do?
Get my ass out of bed and go to the gym.
Yeah, that's it. And
Well,
what's
today I will be honest, the paradigm won today. So I was like, oh, I can get up, and I was in bed. I'm like, you know what? It's a beautiful day. I'll just walk later, and then I'll just go. I'll take an extra 30 minutes to sleep, and then I'll get up and like shower and get ready for the meeting. And I was just being lazy, and now I'm just like kicking myself. I'm like, I should have just gotten it out of the way. Now I have to when I'm done work, I have to go for a walk later, to get it in. So it's good. It's a beautiful day, so I'm not going to complain. But I like to get it done first thing because you know how your day gets ahead of you, and then you're just like, all right, I don't feel like doing it later in the day. That's just the way I am.
Yeah. And if what would, again, get your ass out of bed? How do you get yourself to do that? What do you do?
And you just got to do it. There's nothing really. I mean, yeah, I set the alarm. The alarm went off. I woke up and I just went back to sleep instead of getting up. I should have gotten up.
And if you do get out of bed, how does that align with what you really want?
Oh, it sets your day in motion the way you want to. For me, I mean, I feel like once I get a sweat in the morning, I feel like I'm more productive.
Yeah, I love that. Anyone else have anything to share on that topic before we move on to the next paragraph?
I think we just got to imagine how much, like Frank was saying, how much better you feel once you do it as you're laying there in bed contemplating hitting that snooze button. Think about how well you're going to feel later in the day knowing you got your workout in or whatever you have to do.
Yeah, because and the quicker you can have those thoughts, why would it be so important to have them really quick?
Oh, so you don't change your mind, you just do it.
Yeah, and then you just do it. So you think and then just go, right? If you literally just force yourself and get out and stand up, aren't you up at that point?
You're ready to roll.
You're ready to roll. Exactly. So it's just doing it. Okay. So let's go on to the next paragraph here. This is a really important piece right here. The desire was not when he approached Edison. It had been Barnes' dominating desire for a long time. In the beginning, when the desire first appeared in his mind, it may have been probably was only a wish, but it was no mere wish when he appeared before Edison with it. Why wasn't it a wish anymore? What had he done over and over and over again prior to actually meeting with him?
Practice meeting with him, introducing himself and telling him he wants to be in business with him.
In his head, right?
Yeah, kind of like Art doing his Emmy speech.
Exactly. So Mike, let's think about this. For what you want in your life, how can you do that? What could you do?
Well, I think it goes back to what we were just discussing. Just getting up, doing it, and going forward.
Yeah, but what would be, how could you practice it in your mind? What would you actually be practicing in your head? Like your ultimate goal, you want to get there, whatever that is. How do you practice that?
Just keep replaying in your head.
Over and over and over. So what would you replay in your head for what you want? What would you like? What would that look like for you?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Too good of a question.
Nah. You know the answer.
Well, I'm looking, what I want is, to, I have to pass that stupid test, but get that agency rolling and training my son and niece, like I have told you in the past, and just building something, building a
Perfect.
business.
Got it. So you have this test that's coming up that you're gonna pass,
I hope.
and then you're gonna be building out this agency. So what could you imagine?
Oh, just the
Your-
growth of it, and son taking over and taking a back seat to him, and just being his mentor.
Yeah. And what conversations could you have out loud with either him or anyone else related to that business?
How to build it?
I mean, if you, for example, let's say we're fantasizing in our mind and you're just picturing your son coming into work and he's like, hey, what's going on? How could you play that out in your head with him? What dialogue could you potentially have?
Oh, are you doing the things that we discussed in action, recruiting, prospecting, and all the other things that we talked about to make it, yours, and be successful too?
Yeah. And why is that dialogue, that fantasy of thinking and seeing it, why is that so important?
Well, you got to see it before it comes true.
You got to see it. You got to see it. And it's, and that's how you see it. You do exactly what you just said. You have that conversation with your son,
Right.
right? Art picks up the Emmy. Art's picturing the meeting in advance, right? All those kind of things. When it says here that Edwin Barnes, his desire wasn't new. It wasn't new because he lived it over and over before he got even on the train to go there. So can you all see how and why that's so important?
He replayed it in his mind, that whenever he came up with the idea.
Over and over. And I mean, literally, now I see Art, like I literally see him standing with that and doing his acceptance speech, right? I see it. That's what he's seeing, right? Who else? What do you visualize for yourself to get you, that desire and seeing yourself already there? What do you do? Anyone? Art? Oh, I thought you were.
For me, it's like, I just see it. I'm there doing it. I mean, it's like, if you're hungry and you want to make something to eat, you want to go get something to eat. This is like a hunger. This is like, finding that person that you love, and, they're playing hard to get. And it's like, do you stop? Oh, I'll get something else. I don't need, it's like that. No, if you love that person, you're going to go after her or him. And it's like, if you love this thing, you have to be so in love with what you want that you'll die for it.
Mm.
Literally, I'll take a bullet for this dream. And it's like, I'm going to do it or die. It's like, moon or bust. That's me. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah. And that's why, like when Frank was saying earlier, on the scale of 1 to 10, he was maybe 6 or 7. Maybe that's what you said, right? That's why we've got to think about how do we get that want and desire up to an 8, 9, 9.5, right? Somewhere in that range, 10. Because if we do get our desire up there, what happens? What do you guys think? If we get our desire up to a 9, what's going to happen in our life?
Well, it's kind of like it's like the New Year's resolution, right? That desire is really high for people to want to make changes in their life. From a health standpoint, it's a pretty easy example. But the difference between this and that is that the desire lasts because it's like consistently doing it. And so you actually see the results over time versus like the quick fad, so to speak, of I went for 3 weeks and things didn't go according to plan, or life came in the way, so I had to stop again.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Right. What do you think goes on? So someone wants to go to the gym, maybe they're a little overweight or whatever, and they want to eat differently, and they get kind of motivated. They get the desire. Yeah, I want to do this. I'm going to do this. They go a few times. Why does the desire fade?
Sometimes they don't see the result fast enough. It
Yeah.
takes longer than anticipated to get to where you want to go.
I think also sometimes people can like really in like in an intense way, you know, like they haven't been to the gym in 2 years and then they go like 7 days a week, right? As an example, instead of going like, hey, just go for a walk today. Like, let's make it a habit before jumping in the deep end. And then also what Mike said, which is like the results aspect where they're not seeing anything from the external standpoint yet. You know, or life gets in the way or something happens and then they fall back into their old habits.
Yeah, we've seen that. I mean, sure, you guys, right? Suraj, you've seen the video of the guy, maybe that's like 360 pounds, and he decides, like, he makes a decision, I'm going to videotape and record my journey, and he does, and he loses all the weight, and it's so inspiring, it's so motivating. But what do you think? Because again, he needs to have that desire at such a high level.
Mhm.
How does that guy do it? What do you think?
I think something flips internally with him where or her, and they're just like, I just can't do this anymore, or like some traumatic something happens, or some insight moment that just completely rocks their old paradigm, right? Like an emotional impact, like Bob says, or the
Yes.
constant spaced repetition. I feel like you like maybe one day they like look in the mirror and they really just like wake up in some sense and they're like, what happened? And then that's like the switch for them, you know, like that's kind of like what happens in the videos. And then
Yeah.
they have that external motivation as well from posting. So like people are now in their corner and they feel like they have like a purpose behind doing this and inspiring others and things like that.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And by doing those things, it boosts them up on the scale of desire from whatever it was to almost a 10. And when we get ourselves at that number, what do you think happens?
They get the results.
We get the results, because at that point you've made a decision and you're like, I'm doing this no matter what, period, the end. I want this more than anything, and
You always-
nothing's going to stop me. Go ahead. What were you?
It's
Mike,
kind of
what-
like you see these ladies or even men, they get divorced and they get upset at their ex-spouses, and all of a sudden they go from like a 2 to a 10, and it's like they just started exercising. Their motivation was their spouse and to find someone different, and they went from
Yeah.
a 2 to a 10, and like, unbelievable.
So Mike, you and Suraj make great points here. So again, we have to think to ourselves, and again, as we go through this, we're going to get there. It may take us 5 years to get through the book. Well, I don't care, whatever it is. But the point is, we could read this chapter very quickly and be like, yeah, you know what? I need a desire. But we want to get the desire, because if we don't have the desire, nothing else is going to work. So that's why we're taking this time. So again, we know one thing, which is what you guys all just said, is if we can get that number up, there's a much better likelihood that we're going to be able to do this. So again, what I really want you to think about is, what in my life do I need to do to get this number up the scale? Because that's like the number one thing we need to do. And I think what Suraj said, right? Like someone looks in the mirror one day and they're, the pain just hit so hard. They're like, I am done. I'm never doing this again, and then they're on fire. We can do that right now. Like we can make that, but we've got to really think about, what are we going to do to increase it? How can we keep increasing the desire? And again, we're going to see it as we keep going on here and read more. Any questions or thoughts before we move on?
Mike, you've shown pictures of yourself looking a little bit different at one time in your life,
Yes.
and then you turned it around. What was your motivation at that time?
I will tell you exactly what flipped the switch. I remember it like yesterday. I was giving my son was in the bathtub, and I was sitting there without my shirt on with a pair of shorts. And I turned and I looked in the mirror and I saw like this gut, and I'm like, what the hell is that? Like, for some reason, I never noticed it before. I wasn't thinking that I looked that way, but then I see it. And it was at that point I said, that's ridiculous. I am, and then I made a decision right at that point. That's it. but I saw it, like I was, and then at that point, it was able to get my desire through the roof, and then the rest was history. Like there was no chance I was going back to that. So I think, again, it's something that we see, it's an emotional impact. That was kind of like an emotional impact for me. And if not, like Suraj said, it's that constant spaced repetition. I just gotta keep, talking about and thinking about and saying what it is that I want as if I already have it. Yeah. Okay. Good. Any other thoughts before we move on? We're good. All right. Did we read that? Did we read this? The top one, the desire was not new. Is that the one we just read?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Perfect. Okay, a few years later, Edwin C. Barnes again stood before Edison in the same office where he first met the inventor. This time, his desire had been translated into reality. He was in business with Edison. The dominating dream of his life had become a reality. Today, people know Barnes, envy him because of the break life yielded him. They see him in the days of his triumph without taking the trouble to investigate the cause of his success. Imagine, like, think about art in this situation, right? Because it's so fresh, because he was just holding that Emmy, right? Whenever it is, when he has all the success that's already there, people will look at art and say, oh man, like, but they won't see all the years he put in doing this internal work to get to the place that he is now. Is that right, Art? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, completely.
Right. So this is the same thing here. People would look at Barnes and say, oh, the guy was lucky. He was at the right place, the right time. No. His desire was translated into reality. He was in business with Edison. The dominating dream of his life had become a reality. Mike, we were just talking about that dream, that fantasy. Art holding up the Emmy. Why is it so important that we live that dream in our head over and over and over?
It's like what Bob Proctor said, if you see it in your mind, you'll see it in your hand. And the fact is, you have to keep doing it and doing it, because the reality at this time is, for whatever your dream is, it's not here. But as long as you keep going it over and over again, you'll convince your subconscious mind to open up those floodgates and allow this thing to happen. That's the reality of how we're made. It's like we have to change our thoughts to fit, and then raise our vibration to fit that desire. And the minute that we do that, it's there. And and also, it's like, I'm going to also touch on the fact of discomfort. Doing something that's not comfortable, whatever it is. I get up in the morning and I take a cold shower, and I do my breathing in the cold shower, my Wim Hof in the shower, because that's uncomfortable. It's like Mark Twain said, eat the toad every day. First thing in the morning, eat the toad. Whatever it is that makes you uncomfortable. And then everything else becomes easy. The fact is, this is what I want, and thinking about it and doing it, that's easy. Sitting in a cold shower, breathing sucks.
How long do you stay in that cold shower for?
I don't know. It's like I do 40 deep in and out breaths, like that, and then I exhale most of the air, hold that for as long as I can. Then I inhale and I suck up from my my lower abdomen. I suck it up to the top of my head, and I sit there for as long as I can. Then I breathe, and I do that 3 times, whatever long that takes. I don't know, 5 minutes, maybe.
That's a few minutes, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, this is like anything else, Frank's a big sports guy. I'm a big sports guy. This is shooting 1,000 free throws after practice. This is shooting your 3-point shots. Tom Brady just didn't come when the practice started. He was practicing all summer with guys. He'd bring them out to California. Bill Gates, I'm sure he must have messed up a zillion times in that garage of his with with stuff he was doing, and he kept coming back to it, kept coming till they figured out what was wrong. So it's all, a lot is up here just to get it, just to shake and bake and get it going for yourself. And sometimes we're lazy or whatever our reasons are, we have our reasons, but trying to break those reasons that's the difficult part.
Well, I think you hit on a very important point, which you're pointing right up here. It all starts up here. Do you know, what do you guys think who's that? Someone just trying to get into the room. I don't know who it was, but anyway, who do you think, and I just lost what I was going to say, and it was good.
I'm sure.
Oh, well, but you're using, so if we're using fantasy to increase our desire, what happens for most people when the desire starts to fade? Then how do they use their fantasy? What do they start thinking about and seeing in their mind when that starts to fade? A lot of people. What do you think?
The opposite?
Paul, yeah, Mike. Paul, what were you going to say?
Yeah, what Mike said, they're still seeing the negative part of it, but that's a stronger part that we usually carry. And, yes, just like the last time and the time before and the time before, we think that it's the same thing happening over and over again. And, we just lost our way from there on.
Yeah. So we are masters at using our imagination, which isn't really, but imagination boosts the desire. So if you ever tell yourself, I'm not really good at using my imagination, it's not true, because you can think about those negative things that you've thought about over and over and over and relived in your head over and over and over. And you'll say to yourself, actually, I'm pretty good, right? I do this all the time. So do you see why it would be so important for us to use that mental faculty, the imagination, as a tool to help us in building our desire? Yeah. So Frank, the next time you're thinking about hitting that snooze button, which is going to win? Oh man, I could relax, or just get the hell out of bed, right? Just get literally, as you're thinking that, take your foot and put it on the floor, get up. And as soon as you do that, as soon as you do that, or once your feet are out of the bed, will you ever really get back in bed, or you're up at that point?
No, I'm up at that point.
Yeah. So literally all you have to do is get your feet to touch the floor, and then you're good. That's really all it takes. I just got to put my feet on the floor and stand up, because then I won't go back to sleep.
Yep.
All right. Good. I love it. Anyone else have anything they want to offer? Oh, this is what I was going to say before it came to me. What do you think that, they say over and over, there's a secret in this book, and it's in every single chapter, and they don't tell you what the secret is, but they say after you read it enough, you'll start to get what it is. But I want to talk about it in advance and see if, based on your knowledge of thinking into results, if you can figure out, what do you think the secret is in this book? Any ideas? Any guesses?
I'll go.
Yeah.
You need to have that definite desire, that plan, and see it in your mind.
You got to have a plan. You got to see it in your mind. It's part of, but yes, you're getting there. You're getting warmer, right? We used to play that game. You're getting warmer. What else? What else do you think it is? What's the secret? If there was only one secret we could say to someone and say, just do this one thing, and if they just did that one thing, could potentially be the difference maker, what do you think that would be?
I mean, never quit. Keep doing it until you get it.
I love that. I love that. There would be something that would control us on whether we're going to quit or we're not going to quit. What would that be?
Your attitude,
And our attitude is made up of what?
Decisions.
thoughts, feelings, and actions.
Thoughts, feelings, and actions. And what is at the number one spot of thoughts, feelings, and actions? Which comes first in thoughts, feelings, and actions?
Thoughts.
Thoughts,
Thoughts.
yeah.
Right. There is the secret. So if you ever hear them ask this, right? We become what we think about. We become what we think about. Whatever we spend time thinking about is exactly what we're going to experience in our life. So imagine if you did nothing else in this whole time that we're going to get together and discuss this book, but you just focused on what am I going to be thinking about? Where are my thoughts? Are they here? Let me shift them and keep doing that. What do you think might start to happen with everything else? What do you think? But what comes after thoughts?
Feelings.
Feelings. So if you're thinking right, how are you going to feel, Frank?
Feel good.
And if you feel good, what comes after feelings?
Actions.
What will your actions look like?
Good. They're going to produce things that you want.
And your results will be good because they're going to produce what you want. Where did it all start?
Your thoughts.
So the only way you can get the results that you want is start off thinking the way that you want to. So if you want to have a desire, you got to be thinking about that thing that you want. And that will cause you to feel a certain way and act a certain way and then get results that you want. Does it make sense?
Yep.
So we become what we think about. Okay. Let me see here. Where are we? Oops. Okay, so here we go. Barnes succeeded because he chose a definite goal. Think of this. He's stopping each one with a comma here. He chose a definite goal. This is why he succeeded. He chose what he wanted, a definite goal, placed all his energy, all his willpower, focus, right? Will is one of our mental faculties. All of his effort, everything back of the goal. He did not become a partner of Edison the day he arrived. He was content to start in the most menial work as long as it provided an opportunity to take even one step towards his goal. And again, the next paragraph, you see it took him 5 years. 5 years of him working in this, lower position to eventually get to a place where he had the opportunity to work with Thomas Edison. So is your goal, is it definite? In other words, do you know, could you recite it? You could tell people what it is and what it looks like. Can you do that? And if you can't, it's okay. But what we need to do first is we've got to know what we want. And if we don't know exactly what we want, what do you think we could do to figure out what we want? What do you think the questions we can ask ourselves to really figure out what we want? Any thoughts? What would you say to yourself to start to figure out what is it that I really want in my life?
Yeah, write down what you're passionate about and then try and devise a plan around that.
Yes. So when you say what you're passionate about, what does that mean exactly, Frank?
Things that you love, that's separate from work, that gets you excited in your everyday life.
Things that you love. Things that you love. I was just talking to Jeffrey about this the other day. Like, what is it that you really love to do? And when you define what you love, if you love something, whatever it is, how easy, so let's just say, for example, you love golf, okay? You love golf. You love that. How easy would it be if you were placed into a business where it was about playing golf and doing that golf, the thing that you love? Would that be hard to desire and want?
No.
Why?
Because it's something you already love doing.
Because we love to do it. So what you're saying, Frank, is if we build something based on what we really, truly already have a passion about, how much easier will it make it for us to have that desire?
Yeah, a lot easier.
A lot. So
Yeah.
if you, not you, Frank, anyone, right, that's part of this and anyone that may be watching, right? If you feel like, man, my desire is just really not there, one of the things that we have to ask ourselves is, do I love what it is that I'm doing? Because has anyone here ever done something in the past that they just didn't really like? And you just did it, maybe you were doing it to make some money or whatever it was, but there was no passion there for you. Can you get motivated and really want to do what you're doing? It's impossible. So let me ask anyone else, tell me what you're doing that you really love and why it makes your desire so easy to have. What do you think?
Well, I love food.
Perfect.
I love food. I love anything to do with food. And then I tie it into wellness. Like I could talk about food and be in the kitchen all day long. So now I actually have a clear picture because Tuesday I did make the vision board. So now the other day I was getting upset and having a little bit of a meltdown, and you came in and you said to me, does it have anything to do with the 3? I said, no, it doesn't. He goes, that's why. It had nothing to do with what the purpose and my desire was. This is why I felt out of sorts, because it's just like, okay. And then yesterday I went back to doing things that were pertaining to the 3 areas. And I felt really good and very motivated. It's like, okay, because I'm the type of person, I'm very creative. I just need somebody here just to execute some of these things. Just like, I don't know design, and it's just like, I don't need to, but the desire is there. Like when I'm offered, I was supposed to start a new job Monday. And I said no, even though it was going to bring me extra money. I just honestly knew that it was going to be soul sucking. I was going to be upset every day I came back, because what I want to do is just having to do with food, creating things, helping people to stay healthy. That's what I want to do every single day.
And why is it, again, the love that you have for cooking, when you go to do any work around that, what does that feel like when you're doing the work?
I could do it all day. I think it was Saturday or Sunday. I was doing things and I'm like, oh, but I'm not done yet. And I was, my marketing girl was like, oh, you need to make the list for the LinkedIn, whatever it was. And I literally, you had to pull me because you're like, we have to go get food so that we could eat dinner. And I could have stayed there. Because it's just like, she's like, okay, everything that you use yourself, you have to recommend to people. And just like the list now, when I showed somebody, they were like, oh my gosh, send it to me. And somebody asked me yesterday, like, okay, so what do you take for your greens? And I'm like, it has probiotics. She was like, send me your list. She was like, I will always buy it from your link. So it was interesting because I missed out on so much money because I'm constantly recommending things to clients. So that's just another stream of income, but I'm doing what I love. It's just just figuring, and it's happening. It's happening. It's happening. I envision it every day on, okay, this is how it's going to flow. And, she's working on now piecing it together. We have, our wording, our messaging is getting out right. And it's just really, okay, this is what I do. This is who I am. I live and breathe this every day.
Right. So so you're watching, everyone else on the call that's watching, right? Can't you see how much Yvette really loves cooking? Like, is there any question in your mind that, right? No, everyone's shaking their head. No, there's no question because she loves it.
Oh yeah. Yesterday I had a client and she just said to me, well, can you do this? But not if you're not making it for other people. And I'm just like, is she insane? And I whipped up a chicken pot pie. Somehow we had chicken in our house as vegans. I don't know how the chicken got there, but just the smell of it, it triggers something within me. Certain smells just can bring me such happiness, even though I'm not going to eat the puff pastry. The smell brings me back to culinary school. Even the smell of vanilla. I opened the vanilla bottle. I could be upset. That triggers something within me. And I think I said it to Mike. It had started from the age of 3 or 4 with cooking. So for me, I went into nursing to help people, and I love helping people. But it's always been because I was deterred. The paradigm was put in early. You can't make money as a chef.
Exactly.
It can't make money as a chef. So then I went the other route, and I listen, I loved it. I loved it for 20 years. But then it was just like, okay, well, how can I put the passion together to food? And yeah.
So the real question is, thank you for sharing this, Yvette, because you could really see the passion and how much you love it, right? The question is, what we are doing, do we have the same passion? In other words, if you could do if you knew, okay, from doing that thing I love, I could make money doing it. Are you doing that thing that you love? Because if not, and you really don't feel it in your heart, what would that do to our ability to increase our desire? I don't really love doing that thing. Like, I'll give you an example. As a financial advisor, I did it for many years. I liked helping people, but it wasn't my true passion. My true passion was doing this kind of stuff, helping people, but not so much with the money, really helping them with this. And so when I wake up every day, it doesn't feel like work. This is what I love. That's the thing that I want to say. And that's the desire. That's the piece that's really important. We must love, or look at what do we really love, and then center everything around that. Does that make sense to everyone? Does anyone here not love what they do and are still doing it anyway at this point? It's a real honest answer, and there's nothing wrong with it. Yeah. Everyone feels like real in line with that. That's a really important piece. You know, that puts you in a league of, you know, you're kind of in the minority at this point, because most people are waking up and doing what they don't like.
I'm doing what I don't like right now. I need to change.
Ah, okay. This is what I was looking for. Why? Tell me what is it that you're doing that you don't like versus what you really do love?
Telesales. I don't like it.
Perfect. Yeah, and then as you're doing it, how do you feel when you're doing it?
Frustrated and upset.
Frustrated, upset. And how many hours a day do you spend on the phones doing that?
About 6 hours, 4.5 hours of talk time.
So 4.5 hours of the day, you're doing something that's frustrating you and not making you happy.
Correct.
How
That's why I look the way I look.
Nah, you look great, Mike. It's you, that you're releasing. That's all being released. It's all releasing. But what was I going to tell you?
4.5 hours of doing something you don't like.
Yeah. So what would you love to be doing?
Well, I like to be, I think being in front of people more, because then I could see them, react to them, laugh with them, you know, joke with them more, you know, be me more than they can't see me on the phone, obviously.
Yeah. And right.
I think that's my,
that's your gift.
that's, yeah, yeah.
You'll be using your gift, which you're not using right now.
Correct.
I mean, not to the fullest capacity.
Right. I still joke around and, you know, try to make jokes, make them feel comfortable and everything, but not where it should be.
So the thought process of starting this business, this other business, which is still around the industry.
Yeah. I mean, this is the only thing I really know. I've been in the industry since I'm 26, 24.
But now you'll be face to face. People will be coming into the office and seeing you. You'll be
More
going out and seeing
local people and yeah, stuff like that instead of people all over the country.
And how would that feel?
I think it would be good. I think it would be good.
because it'll allow you to live your gift.
And you could do more for the community and, you know, things of that nature too. As far as donating and, you know, the schools or whatever the case, sports teams, things like that.
I mean, Mike, thanks for being honest, right? Because not everyone is, there's a lot of people that aren't doing what they love.
No, I
And-
think Yvette and Art are and yourself, very lucky people, and whoever else is into whatever they're doing.
Well, that's the purpose. You see, you don't realize this now, Mike, but there's going to be someone that watches this, what we're doing right now, and they're going to say, man, yeah, I want to do that too, right? Hey, Mike was doing this for a long time and he finally made a decision to do this, right? We never know how this is going to help other people. So you being honest about it, there's other people out there that are feeling the exact same way. And the thing is, if we build it around the desire, the love, the passion, whatever it is.
You never know, Mike. I could be Barnes and you can be Edison. Who knows? You know.
Yeah, well, you're Grasso and I'm Fox. That sounds like a solid firm right there. Anyhow, but let me just see how I want to leave us off here. I think on that note, let's just do a couple takeaways from today's call. What did you kind of take away from today? Anyone? Nate. go.
Yeah, what we were just talking about actually brought me back to when I was doing the market research. When I first started, I was like, okay, this is great. Like I can do this. And I was one of the top producers. I was making, 100, 120, 130 calls a day and felt like I enjoyed it. They had me training people and I really, was in my element at that point because I was motivated to do well. And then I started to see the internal like corporate structure of it and realized that, as hard as I was working, I was never going to see any real benefit from it because they already had their manager set. They had their like club or clique. And all I was doing was helping people that already had millions of dollars get richer. And I was doing it by tricking people into talking to me about their business. And so I started to realize that, and my desire just plummeted. So, and I had some personal things going on too. So I basically lost focus, started to do other things while I was working, and just never really felt like I was doing what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So it was kind of funny, the transition, because it was over 4 years. For the first 2 years, I was, one of the top producers. Then there was an incident and, I never regained it.
Yeah, because you were doing something which was against what you really feel on the inside, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now what I'm doing right now with the insurance, I'm realizing just how much it benefits the families. And that's a core thing of mine.
Right, a core internal value and belief, and when you come from that and operate from that place, how do you feel?
Amazing. Like I have closed 2 sales, one last week, and one yesterday.
Amen.
So I don't know if they're gonna if the second one's gonna get approved because of medical, but we have other products that we can offer as well. And it was more about the bond that I made with this guy. That's what I love to do. Just have that connection, and he was listening to every word that I said. I was asking him questions like, the sales program that we've been talking about, and really getting to know him. So that's why I love what I'm doing.
That's why I love it. And that's why you can keep showing up every single day. because you love what you do. And that's the key, right? And desire comes naturally from doing the things that we love to do. So if you're feeling like, man, I don't have any desire, like for example, when I was working back in the other industry that I worked in, and I would get to the office and I'd sit there and I just wasn't feeling really good. There is a way to build anything you want around what you love doing. It's just that people told us that there isn't, so we believe them, but there's tons of people that went against that and ended up doing what they love. So desire equals what do I love? Am I doing what I love? Desire naturally comes, right? Art's doing what he loves, right? Yvette's doing what she loves. Nate's doing what he loves. Frank's doing what, right? It comes naturally. We're all just keep coming from that place and it'll just naturally take off. And what else? Any other thoughts before we jump off for today?
Good class. Thank you, everybody.
All right, guys.
And Michael.
Have an amazing weekend and see you next week.
Go Eagles.
Yes.
Go
Birds.
Thank you, everyone.
I'm
Have
a
a great
Patriots
one.
fan, but
See
go
you guys.
Birds.
Have a good weekend.
See you guys.